we have just finished the week-long Animal Liberation Conference in Berkeley, California.
It was an amazing experience, as it was last year, and we're so looking forward to bringing you some of the insights and things that we learned, because it's all about sharing, isn't it? Not everyone can actually be there in person.
Yes.
But if we can bring you what we experienced, in some way you're experiencing it through us, I guess.
That's right. And so as we were going to so many of the talks and workshops, I was frantically taking notes on the phone. So
Here we go.
My goodness. Where do we start? First of all, I just want to say that if you ever get the chance to attend the ALC, we'll just abbreviate it, Animal Liberation Conference, ALC, it was just wonderful. Now, as you mentioned, we went last year.
And we liked it so much that we had to go back.
Yeah.
Because we learned so much last year.
That's the thing. Like, we don't want to just go where we're invited to speak. We want to go where we also get to learn and contribute.
That's right, because you were invited to speak last year, weren't you?
Correct.
At the end of the Animal Liberation March.
Yeah, and we also gave a talk this year at the NARD event.
Which is an abbreviation for National Animal Rights Day, if you're not familiar with that acronym.
But we were going anyway to the ALC this year.
That's right.
So, I think it's always great to upskill.
Yeah.
No matter how long you've been an activist for, you always learn something.
Always. And the quality of the speakers that are at the conference, you're guaranteed to learn something. I mean, we learned many, many things.
Yeah.
The quality of the speakers, what can I say?
So the first person that we want to talk about, the first speaker was
Dr. Bernard Lafayette and his wife, Kate. So Dr. Lafayette, and I didn't know this, I don't know whether you did before we met him.
No, I didn't know.
Right, so he worked closely with Martin Luther King Jr., and he's a long-time civil rights activist and organiser and a leader in the civil rights movement. He played a leading role in early organising of the Selma voting rights movement.
Amongst many other things, actually. And I don't know what it was like for you, Luca, but when we were in the room listening to him speak, I felt like, wow, there's a piece of history right here.
100%, that's exactly how I felt. Because normally these are things that you'll read about in books.
Yeah.
Or you might
see
read an article
video
online
or an old photo.
video, an old photo. That's
Yeah.
right. But to have somebody who was really involved in the thick of it, to be there in the room, in the flesh.
I kind of just wanted to touch him because he's obviously touched Martin Luther King, like shook his hand or something.
Amazing.
It's like, oh, just let me feel that energy and wow, it's a part of history right here in front of us. It was very exciting.
Yeah. And actually we did shake his hand.
Well, we did, yeah.
Mind you, we wouldn't have needed to do that in order to feel the energy because he brought it with his words and his presence alone, didn't he?
Exactly. Yeah. So it was fascinating hearing and learning from his stories from the civil rights movement and his words of wisdom from his extensive experience as an activist. That was just... wow, it's like
so many pearls
a history
of wisdom.
book, right there in front of you.
All those little one-liners.
Oh, so many one-liners.
Yeah.
I wish we could have just recorded the whole thing and just listen to this, everyone, you know. But there's so much that the animal rights movement can learn and apply from other movements, and that's why they had him at the conference.
Yeah.
It's not because he's vegan, unfortunately, but it's learning from what the civil rights movement did and was so successful with and how we can apply it to animal rights.
Yes, and when we were listening to his talk, so many times we were nodding our heads whenever he would say something that would reaffirm something that we say in our activism workshops. Yeah. And so we're just sitting there looking at each other, nodding, and we're like, yes, we're on the right track here.
Yeah.
Somebody is telling us that this worked historically. Yeah. So, we can apply it to the animal rights movement, as you said.
We had a big smile ear to ear, and I think our necks were sore by the end of it because we're nodding so intensely. Yeah.
So Dr. Lafayette spoke about the effectiveness of the Kingian nonviolence approach.
Of course, that's based on Martin Luther King
Jr., that's right. And how important it is for activists to respond from a place of control rather than react based on emotions.
This was so interesting. We'll talk about this a little bit more in depth in a moment.
Yeah, so he said we should stay in control and respond in a way that strikes the conscience of the oppressor such that it doesn't stimulate them to strike again. That's how you stop the violence.
And I was just frantically taking notes in this talk and react versus respond.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I think vegans can really learn from this because we do react from a place of emotion so often, don't we?
We do. It's a knee-jerk reaction and because it's something we feel so passionately about. And, we understand that it's a matter of life and death and there is so much suffering and needless suffering and murder involved, that we're so passionate about it that the emotion can sometimes overwhelm us, and we react from that emotional place.
That's right.
And it's not that our activism should be void of emotion.
No,
it's
absolutely
just that,
not.
we don't want to lose control of the situation because of our emotional reactions.
Yeah, it's like the reaction has to be
controlled.
Guided. Controlled and guided and strategic, I think is what he was getting at.
Yeah.
And, whether you're having an outreach conversation with a stranger or whether you're talking to family, friends, your partner, colleague, or whether you're just responding to comments online, it often comes from, oh, you gotta be kidding me. You just kind of like go for it.
Yeah, and you're breaking the keyboard as you furiously type out that knee-jerk reaction, emotional response.
You always know when I'm responding because you always say, stop banging on the keyboard. I'm like, there's a different type of energy when you're coming to it from that intense emotion.
Yeah, and that's why a best practice can be to sometimes sit on it.
Yeah.
So